Soul Simmers, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're doing something super exciting because we are building my own house. This is something that I've been wanting to do since like forever, I think, but I never really felt like I had the right tools or the things that I needed to actually build my house. Like, I don't know, like you can see here now, I'm trying to make U-shaped stairs because my house kind of has round U-shaped stairs. It's not really like a spiral stairs, but it's also not really U-shaped. I feel like this turns out a little bit too square than it is in real life, but we couldn't do that before. Like we've been able to do it for a while, but like when I started playing The Sims, we couldn't do this, so I couldn't really build my own house. And then I have this really pretty mural that you might have seen in my YouTube videos if you've watched my channel before. And I also didn't have that. So there were like these things that still felt kind of out of place. And I decided that I wanted to do it whenever I was ready. And then for my 1-year streamiversary, which is already a couple of months ago, so this idea has been living in my head for a while. That someone being DewOfTheSea, aka Rose. I will link all of her channels down below because she also makes Sims 4 content, but also amazing CC creator, made my wallpaper for me. And as soon as I saw that, I knew that immediately I had to recreate my own house. I was like, I need to do this. I need to use this wallpaper. I'm already using it on Twitch as like my starting soon screen and my be right back screen. But I figured that I also wanted to build my whole house because also it's a thing that a lot of people ask me about is like, what kind of house do you live in? Do you have a big house, small house, etc.? So I was like, why not just build it in The Sims? I can't really show many pictures. I will show some pictures at the end of the video as well. And you saw in the beginning of the video, like one picture of my living room, but obviously I cannot share too many pictures because if you could see outside of my windows, you would be able to know where I live, which is obviously not information that I want to put out on the internet. But I figured, you know, building my house in The Sims, luckily I live in some sort of an apartment complex, so it's not really like you can recognize my house by the outside of my house. You will see it kind of come together throughout this build where you'll notice that on the outside it looks really ugly. This is because my house is not on the ground floor. It is not a house that is meant to be standalone. You can kind of already see it happening here that it is starting to look like a really weirdly shaped box. This is because my house is part of an apartment complex, so I tried to use the outer walls simply as a way to create the floor plan and the inner space, but it doesn't really make sense. As you can see here, I'm starting to play around with the wallpaper. I will later in the video figure out that I need to move the lot like one back because the wallpaper is related to where it's placed on the lot to create the right pattern. So I will move it back later on. But I was just kind of seeing the vibe here. I'm trying to pick the color of my flooring. I'm not sure if any of you have ever tried to build their own house in The Sims, but picking the right color of flooring can be quite the challenge. I do end up using a lot of CC in this house. I feel like I could not have built my own house without CC. There are so many things in my house that just don't have an equivalent in The Sims. So I definitely used a lot of CC. Therefore, this house is also not on the gallery yet. Let me know in the comments if like at one point you do decide that you want to download the house. I can totally upload it, but then it will just download without all the CC in it, which if you're fine with that, then I'm also fine with it. It would be kind of fun to have you guys play in my house, to be honest. But as you can see here, I'm trying to kind of recreate some storage cupboards or closets that we have in the hallway. It's mostly where like our internet and piping and stuff is located. It's really not something fancy, but we kind of use it as extra storage, like the coat rack that we have. That's where all of our spare coats are stored that are not like on the hooks in the hallway. I'm also making the downstairs toilet. I have like a bathroom upstairs and then a toilet downstairs, which is, I think in American considered like a half bathroom. And I'm placing this really, really small sink because a lot of toilets in the Netherlands, which is where I live, have like this super teeny tiny small sink, which fits perfectly into our bathrooms. It's a really annoying sink. Like if you wash your hands, water will splash everywhere. But it's a very European thing, I've learned. So that's why I sized down a sink. I don't think it's functional anymore. And this is the point where you really will see me start to use CC. I was trying to find like a poster that is similar to what we have in our kitchen. And this is also where I start using tool to place certain objects like this coffee machine and then kind of hide the counter underneath. I'm grabbing a toaster here. Like this is where I really get into the part of CC to recreate what was in my house. this is also the point where I started to realize that I knew as soon as I started building this that I was going to try and make it as real as possible, but at the same time, this is where I start noticing how much time that is going to take. Like, I think obviously the video is sped up a lot, but I think at this point I was maybe an hour into building, trying to recreate everything. And the more I tried to put all the details in, the longer it took. I think the entire building process of this house took like 3.5 to 4 hours. Because I kept wanting to make it as accurate as possible. For some reason, every time I picked something that didn't quite match, I couldn't stand it, and I had to go in and see if I could find like a poster that resembled it closer or a shelving unit that worked better. And this just kept being on a thing throughout the entire thing. Like, you can see now that I'm even adding radiators and stuff, like heating, because I was like, no, but that's in my real house. It needs to be in my Sims house as well. So in case you're wondering why I'm spending so much time on decoration, it's simply because I was trying to make it as realistic as possible. For those that are watching my YouTube channel that have been to my house, you will probably recognize how detailed I make it. Like, you will have seen my kitchen, you will have seen my living room, and you'll be like, yeah, even the plant placement and like grabbing the right type of plant was something that I tried to do as much as possible. So I just had a lot of fun doing this. Like, it's fun to see your own house sort of come to life in a game that you love playing. This is where I'm also looking for the right colors of chairs, which I have to say I didn't really succeed in. I think the chairs that I have are a little less red. They're a little bit more orangey, but this was the best I could do. In a lot of cases, I at one point had to just accept defeat and accept that that was the best that I could do. This is also where I'm trying to place the instruments. This is definitely where I use even more CC. Because my boyfriend, he's a bass guitarist, so he has 3 bass guitars and his like amp that stands downstairs. And then we have my piano, which I rarely play, but we still have it. And it's all like in the living room, but I had to size some things down and like play around with everything to make it fit. I think that is one of the biggest challenges in The Sims and like building a real house is the scale, because you cannot do like a half tile. You have to do everything like on the tile grid with all the walls. And I think if I were able to do half tiles, all of the measurements would just be slightly different than they are now. I think the main room where you see me struggle with this is the bathroom. The bathroom really doesn't look like my own bathroom. I think I managed to fit everything else kind of in a realistic way, but the bathroom is the part where that's kind of where I had to cash in defeat and accept that it wasn't going to work out and be as realistic as it is in real life. But this is where I start to recreate my living room, and also we have this cupboard underneath the stairs, and I think this is a point where I decided, okay, I might not do all the decorations, because this is one of our cupboards where we store like so much shit. Do you also have this in your house? Like one of those places where you just kind of store everything that you don't want in sight, but you needed to place it somewhere? So I kind of tried to mimic that under the stairs, but I didn't go full detail because then I would be just cluttering and cluttering forever. This is also where I'm trying to find a rug that really matches the one I have in my living room. I feel like I really succeeded. I will put some pictures at the end of the video, but I think you also saw it in the beginning of the video a little bit already, where this rug, I didn't know I had it until I like scrolled all the way down, and then I by accident found it, and it's so perfect to the one I have. So that was like a nice coincidence, because it really brings back that part of the room that you can kind of recognize. It really makes it look like my living room. In case you're wondering why I'm placing a bike here, my boyfriend has like his bike on some sort of a device that allows you to cycle indoors whenever it's a winter period and he cannot go cycle outside. But it's like we seriously have it standing in the living room behind our couch. So that's why I wanted to try and add that in as well, because it is kind of an eye-catchy thing in the living room at the moment. So I felt like it should be there. His bike deserved a place in my Sims build. That's also the point where I realized that the build was a little bit too wide. So I made it smaller. You will see me make the upstairs smaller as well later at a point too. I think I fiddle around with the scale of this build like 3 or 4 times as I'm placing furniture and realizing that the rooms are slightly too big or slightly too small. I think it's still not quite right, but I'm pretty proud of how it turned out, considering that most builds in The Sims, like real builds to The Sims, don't turn out as close as I managed to get this one. So I'm quite proud of how it turned out, but I would definitely like to do some things different if we could do half tiles. I think at one point I was also like placing a lot of clutter down, a lot of plants, and then I go back into the kitchen and I see that one of the walls there doesn't quite fit with the scale. And I want to remove that wall, and with removing that wall, it literally deletes so much of the clutter. So I had to like go back and redo all of the clutter that you kind of see me doing now. Like I'm placing plants everywhere. I'm placing like the curtains and stuff like that. And this is the point, like I think in a little bit, I will realize that that wall that you see in the bottom corner, in the right corner, isn't quite as it's supposed to be. But then when I wanted to change it, it deleted like all kinds of things. So I cut that part out of the video where I kind of like redo all of these little clutter items and clutter steps, but I did my best. It was just kind of annoying that sometimes in The Sims when you're building and you want to go back or like change something, you have to go back like 10 or 20 steps. But I did my best. I'm pretty proud with how it turned out. Here I'm just trying to find the right plants as well. I have a lot of plants for those of you that are like people that watch my Twitch streams as well. My community there is even named the Jungle of Planties. I love plants. I'm obsessed with them. I think I have about like maybe 50 to 70. They kind of change because sometimes I have baby ones and sometimes I give some away. But in general, I have between 50 and 70 plants in my house. It takes me, let's say, 15 to 30 minutes twice a week to water all of them and to kind of take care of them and stuff. And I don't know why, but I was so set on finding the right plants for this build. Like finding the exact plants that I have. We call the little plant that you see on the piano in the back, we call them like a pancake plant because the leaves look like a small flat pancake. But I tried to find them. And then I had another plan. I was like, I really need to get that monstera that is in the corner of my living room. And I kept kind of going back and changing the plants because I wanted the exact ones that I have, which is obviously not really possible because not all of the plants that I own are available in The Sims. But I was so dead set on making it very detailed. And I think I realized that when doing the kitchen here as well, I was really just having this picture in my head of like, what is on my counter and how is it placed? And then I just kept on going back and trying to find the right things and placing them exactly as they are in my kitchen. I have to say, I do really like my house to be very cleaned up. So things tend to have their set space or their set spot as well in my kitchen. That's why I'm able to replicate it and like really think about it in my head as like, what is the picture of my counter and where are the things spaced? Because it's kind of like their set place. Like that mortar and those knives and those spoons and stuff is like, they're always there. They're always in that corner. For people that have been to my house, you will have seen this. It's like, it's just the standard clutter items in my kitchen. And I always try to revert back to when my kitchen is clean, like that's what it will look like. This is where you see me changing that wall. I think it's because I realized I wanted to place the sink and then I saw that the sink was right next to the stove, which in real life isn't correct. There is like a counter in between, which we can use as space to cook. So then I had to go change it and I had to redo some of the clutter. But with adding that counter, I did feel like everything fit better in the kitchen as well. So it looked a lot more realistic, but the jump that you see here in the video is kind of where I had to go back and redo some of the clutter. And the fun thing is I did this recording over the span of like 3 to 4 days, I would say. And every single time I opened it up, I was like, no, wait, actually, there is like a table missing here. Or no, wait, there's like this one painting or I don't know, some detail that I didn't do the first time around. So I kept kind of going back and like walking around in my own house to find the things that I hadn't done in my Sims build. So I have to say this process was really, really fun. I can highly recommend doing it for everyone. Like, build your own house in The Sims and also use The Sims to decorate your own house. Like, I will for sure be going back into this build and kind of maybe changing the kitchen. This is a rental house, so I'm not allowed to do any constructural changes to it. In the Netherlands, you are allowed to like drill holes and hang things on your wall and paint the walls and stuff, but you're not allowed to do any actual constructural changes like change the kitchen or change the bathroom. Or some like people that rent out houses allow you to do it, but they just tell you that you need to spend the money yourself. And then obviously it will become really expensive. And as soon as you leave that house, you kind of lose all that money. But I would love to redo my kitchen if this were my own house because that kitchen layout is not the most ideal. So it's a fun idea to kind of go back at one point and redecorate my house like in The Sims as if it were my own. Because there are definitely some changes that I would make to this house, I think. Not everything in this house makes the most sense. This is where you see me struggling with my the wallpaper in my study. And this is where I realized that I need to move the whole build one over for it to actually look the way it looks in real life. And then I was doubting like, oh, hey, I'm, working on my study. How about I do that one? And then I changed my mind and I realized that the whole reason I wanted to do this build was because I wanted to decorate that study because I now have that wallpaper as CC. And I was like, no, I want to save it all the way until the end. So you will see me save that study, that like my own space, the space where I record all my videos. You will see me save it all the way until the end of the video, simply because I was so excited that that was the part that I wanted to record this video for. But here I'm doing my bedroom, or actually I should say our bedroom because it's not just mine, it's also my boyfriend's. We live here together with our 2 cats. We've been living here for almost 4 years now, I think. And a lot has changed over time. Like, I was looking back at older pictures because I was kind of looking at reference pictures that I could use in the video. And I realized we've changed so much in this house. Like our bedroom, at one point the bed was kind of where you see like the shoe rack now. We completely turned it around, we flipped it. We didn't have the nightstands that we have now. We changed those around as well. We do still have the same bed as we had 4 years ago. We bought that when we moved in here. But like you'll see me decorating his study in a little bit. And the fun thing is that his study used to be like our laundry room. But then obviously COVID came and we all started working from home. And like the whole studio room with the pretty wallpaper that I currently have, we didn't have it back then. When we moved in, this was kind of like a white box room where you put all of that furniture that you don't want to throw away yet, but you also don't really have a place for it. So we kind of all put that in one room, and then the little room that you see right now with the blue wall, like behind our bedroom, the one that I'm going to decorate right now, that's now his office. So he has like the tiny office and I have the bigger office, kind of just came to be that way. But that used to be our laundry room. Like we had this really big sort of like drawer cupboard thingy that contained all of our bed sheets and stuff like that. And we ended up moving them all downstairs to our storage space because we also have a storage space downstairs. But then we completely changed this room to be his office because obviously if you're both working from home and you have the space to create 2 offices, which I know is like a really big luxury thing for us. But we were like, why not do it? Because otherwise we were just kind of in each other's way, or we were both sitting in the living room, which didn't really work. So we quite quickly decided to decorate both of the rooms as offices, but we have changed his office around recently because we made it very practical. Like you need to be able to work here. There was a desk, a chair, and a PC, and that was it. But recently we've been kind of trying to also make that room like cozy and a little bit more nice, because he also deserves a nice space to work. And then here you'll see me trying to figure out what to put above those hampers. I've settled on that painting, but we actually have a friend of the family who made a really cool picture or like a shot of an abandoned castle in Belgium. And he did like an original print for us that is hanging upstairs in the hallway. And I ended up going for like the sort of blueprint of a building picture because it resembles it the most. But it's definitely not as cool as the real picture. So I'll see if I can put it up on the screen on the Speedbuild. Because it's a really, really nice picture. And I'm so happy that he gifted that to us. This is also where you start to, like, where you see me starting to work on the bathroom. I sized down the bath for a reason. In case you're wondering, like, why is she sizing down a bathtub? I don't have a full bathtub in my house. So a while back, I think it was beginning of COVID, I bought this kind of, it's kind of like a grown-up tub. Like one of those tubs that you have for babies or for children. But then for grown-ups, I will put a picture on the screen because there's just no way I'm going to be able to explain it other than what it's called, a bath bucket. But you kind of sit up straight, and I bought it because we are not allowed to remodel the bathroom, or we can, but it's hella expensive and it's not our house. But also there is space for a bath, I think, but not enough. So I bought that bath bucket at the beginning of COVID because I wanted to be able to take a bath, and I can highly recommend it for everyone. Literally, if you have a small bathroom but you want a bath, buy it. It's so amazing. It's so good. It's really comfortable. Unexpectedly so, I have to say. But yeah, that was the bathroom. As you can see, I kind of skipped over that relatively quickly in the video, as well as because I realized that that bathroom was like the least accurate part of the house. And I got really annoyed, and that's why I also didn't clutter it too much, because I was like not feeling the bathroom, but I just couldn't figure out a way that it worked, because I needed to move the window, but in real life, the window is like in right above the front door. But in my Sims build, I just couldn't figure it out, and it annoyed me a lot. So then I decided to go to my office because I was, like I said, really excited to build my office, because that's one of the main reasons. If you, by the way, hear like a cat meowing in the back or like jumping up on my desk, one of my cats is really trying to get my attention as I'm recording this voiceover. But I was super stoked to do my office. But again, at this point is where I think I start to realize that even with CC in my game, I simply have so many things that you can't replicate in The Sims due to skill or simply because the items are just not available in The Sims. Like my monitor layout, I had to use tool and like flip a TV to the side. It made me laugh a lot in the process because I thought it was really funny that I actually managed to do it anyways. But trying to build a streaming setup in The Sims isn't easy, because even though we have streaming PCs and stuff, that's not really what it looks like for me. So I had to go in and get really creative with this. I ended up using like the console playing station thingy as my PC. I used tool a lot in my office recreation. Like I had to resize things and free place them and rotate them to kind of mimic my recording studio. I also end up putting a camera here, even though I don't actually have a camera above my PC. I'm using a webcam to film, but there wasn't a webcam and I was like, I still want to put something there. I also didn't have a separate keyboard and mouse, so I end up just kind of using this mouse pad to mimic it. But I think in real life, my desk is a lot bigger, because here my desk looks super cluttered. And as you can see, the monitors kind of almost fall off. In real life, I also use monitor arms. So this was one of those things in my setup that I really wanted to recreate as accurately as possible in this build. I wanted to add as many details and really make it fit, but at the same time, I got really frustrated for the fact that I didn't have any of the items, or they weren't available. So I might at one point go in and like download way more CC than I currently have in my game, even though I already have so much. I might like go back and get more CC, and then I might at one point actually redo my office setup, just that room, to make it even more accurate, because I think it's just really funny to make it like as real as possible. But here I'm just trying to add a lot of the details. I have a lot of plants in my room. Like I said, I'm obsessed with them. So obviously in my personal office, I have a lot. I'm also really happy that I have a salt lamp as CC, because I love my salt lamp. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I think salt lamps are super cozy, but my boyfriend absolutely despises them. So we actually have a rule that I'm only allowed to have my salt lamp in my room. And he can have his like posters and stuff in his office, because he also has certain posters that I don't like. But it's a really fun thing. Like I love my salt lamp, and I'm really happy that I now also have it in The Sims. And here you see me switching to the last part of this speed build, and that is our balcony. We have a small balcony or roof terrace thingy outside of our bedroom. The placement of the balcony is not the most ideal, because having it next to your bedroom is not the most inviting. But I made it during COVID, I made it into this balcony garden or rooftop garden. So I had a lot of fresh herbs and like tomatoes and bell peppers and stuff growing here over the summer. I try to do it every summer, but I'm still working on it. So every year I try to do more and try to do it better. And now I'm actually just gonna put some pictures on the screen, because that was the build. I hope that you like it. I hope that if I show you the pictures, you can see the resemblance. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the speed build of my house. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to pop in the comments. And if you're not following the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, because it's so much appreciated. And I wish all of you a fantastic rest of your day. See you on the next one. Bye, everyone.